photographs. They can capture moments of joy, love, and happiness. But sometimes, behind these images lie dark and chilling stories that make your blood run cold. Today, we will delve into the world of real, creepy photographs, each holding its own terrifying secret. Get ready to uncover stories you will never forget. Are you ready? Then get ready to watch the second part. Wild Child. This 1970 photo shows a young girl from California, John Wiley. She is also known by the name Wild Child because of her tragic fate. All her life, her father cruelly abused her, keeping her in a homemade straitjacket and tying her to a children's toilet in a locked room for the whole day. When she made a sound or did something he didn't like, he reacted extremely strangely. He growled and bared his teeth at her like a dog. In these harsh conditions, Wiley never learned to walk or speak. When this creepy photo was taken in the hospital right after she was rescued, her life in a series of violent institutions was just beginning. Her whereabouts are unknown today. 4 children for sale. And this picture was taken in 1948, and it captures the conditions of total poverty. Mr. and Mrs. Ray Khalifa were evicted from their Chicago apartment at a time when the family was in dire need of money. In this situation, an unemployed truck driver and his wife decided to sell their children, 6-year-old Lena, top left, 5-year-old Ray, top right, 4-year-old Milton, bottom left, and 2-year-old Sue Ellen, bottom right. Later, the members of the Khalifa family themselves claimed that the woman was offered money for a staged photo of this kind, but over the next 2 years, other families really bought up the children. Unfortunately, each of them subsequently faced violence from their new parents. Spontaneous combustion of Mary Reeser. On the morning of July 2nd, 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, the landlady went into the apartment of an elderly tenant, Mary Reeser, to deliver a telegram. At the same time, she noticed a suspicious detail. The handle of the front door was warm, which usually happens when there is a fire inside the room. Opening the door, the woman found that Mary Reeser, or rather her remains, had almost completely turned into ashes and were lying on the floor of the room. The only thing left of her is part of her left leg and a charred skull. Local authorities were unable to determine the cause of the fire. Almost the entire apartment was intact, except for the space around Reiser's body. The FBI soon took over the case, but they could not give a clear answer either. Mary Reeser somehow caught fire, and the fire was fueled by her own fat accumulated in her body, but the source of the flame was never found. To this day, it is widely believed that this was a case of spontaneous human combustion. The Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment began on August 14, 1971, after Philip Zimbardo, a professor of psychology at the university, divided the student volunteers into 2 groups. 11 of them became guards, and the remaining 10 became prisoners. The professor was interested in how they would behave in an artificial prison. The purpose of the experiment was to assess how quickly educated and intelligent people can become violent sadists under certain conditions. This would help to determine once and for all whether people are inherently good or evil. The experiment lasted only 6 days before it was stopped, but during this time, the guards repeatedly insulted and humiliated the prisoners by spraying them with fire extinguishers and forcing them to clean toilets with their bare hands. These creepy photos illustrate what people are capable of. Radium Girls. In the 1920s, no one knew about the danger of radium yet. Moreover, it was considered curative, and radium water was sold as a medicine or just a preventive remedy. There were even special radium dishes in use to infuse water at home on their own. But radium was of interest to people, not only because of its medicinal properties. It also glowed in the dark, so it was applied to watch faces so that they could be conveniently used in the dark. And it was done manually by girls working at American watch factories. They licked the brushes and dipped them in radium powder, painted the dials, and then licked the brushes again. They were taught this algorithm right in the workshop. As a result, their bones, in particular the jaw bones, began to inflame and collapse, so they were often amputated. And of course, they died at a young age from cancer or radiation sickness. The film Radium Girls was made about this sad historical period in 2018. The Frozen Man from Mount Everest. In May 1996, mountaineer Beck Weathers and his team attempted a commercial ascent of Mount Everest. And despite the fact that their route was not very long, Weathers suffered from snow blindness, damage to the cornea of the eye due to the reflection of sunlight from snow. The man was forced to stop, and the lack of oxygen at altitude completely deprived him of strength, as a result of which he fell. For reasons not entirely clear, his team decided that he was dead and left him in the snow. As a result, Beck Weathers suffered severe frostbite on his nose and hands. Fortunately, the man miraculously managed to get to people, after which he was transported to the hospital and underwent several operations to repair damaged body parts. Jack the Ripper's latest victim. The last victim of notorious serial killer Jack the Ripper, Mary Jane Kelly, was found murdered and mutilated on November 9th, 1888. When the rent collector entered the girl's rented room, he found her dead body with the internal organs removed. A shell-shocked soldier. This photo was taken in 1916 in the trenches during the First World War. It depicts a shell-shocked soldier who witnessed the horrors of battle. In the modern world, a fighter's condition would be called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. But then, experts did not realize what serious psychological trauma such events caused to people. Hundreds of thousands more soldiers did not get into the photo, but had the same crazy look after the experience. The death of cosmonaut Vladimir Komov. In 1967, the Soviet Soyuz 1 spacecraft went into Earth orbit to conduct flight tests. Its pilot was cosmonaut Vladimir Komov. However, even during testing, the ship showed several malfunctions, which could not but be alarming. However, they did not cancel or postpone the launch. Unfortunately, this turned into a disaster. Already during the completion of the flight at the final stage of the descent of the ship to Earth, the parachute system failed. The main parachute did not come out, and the slings of the reserve parachute twisted due to rotation. As a result, the Soyuz 1 crashed into the ground at high speed in the Orenburg region and caught fire. This creepy photo shows the remains of cosmonaut Vladimir Komov. A general photo of Columbine school students. On April 20th, 1999, a tragedy occurred at the American Columbine High School, which became famous all over the world. high school students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold carried out a planned assassination attempt on students and teachers, killing 13 people and injuring 23 others. After the incident, many experts tried to understand how two quite ordinary teenagers could commit such a terrible crime, and how adults could overlook suspicious bells. During the investigation, a shared photo of the class in which Harris and Klebold studied was found, in which young people aim at the camera with an imaginary weapon in the upper corner on the left. This find has become the most eerie artifact of the case. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you like the video. If you want another such format, then write in the comments.